network and get to know each other a little bit better as well. So I'll tell you what, Pete, I'm going to get started.
Yeah,
cool. As people join, we can.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Keep popping back. So, good morning, everyone. You've heard me say that about 15 times now. Thank you all for being on here bright and early. We really do appreciate it. Obviously, everyone's time is precious. We appreciate your time is precious as well as our own. So we really hope to deliver something that's short, sweet, and high impact for you, and leave you with a spring in your step for this Friday, feeling motivated or inspired for what it is that you want to do. Obviously, the session is just an hour, so it's not going to be war and peace on how to grow your business, and there's definitely a lot more that you may need to know outside of this presentation, but we're certainly happy to carry those conversations on with people afterwards, and at the end of the PowerPoint, we'll talk about how we can do that as well. So for now, just buckle up, let's get involved, engage with each other for the next hour and have fun. So just a little bit around housekeeping in terms of what to expect. So we do want full participation. We want to know you're awake and you're not just on this because it's an easy scapegoat for an hour. So make sure you've had your coffee, whatever you need to pick you up this morning. Make sure that you've got a notepad if you want to take notes. Don't be distracted by emails, other browser windows, everything like that. As I said, our time is precious as well as yours. So for the next 55 minutes that we've got left, we really appreciate if you can all be highly engaged. And please do use the chat function as much as possible. If you have questions along the way, please drop them in there. We are going to be asking for you to engage as we go as well. So yeah, we want it to be a really active and highly engaged session. So a little bit more about us. I'll go first and then I'll hand over to my co-host Pete. So I'm CEO of a digital marketing agency called Trio Media. Trio Media has only been going for 3 years. I didn't found the company. I came into it after the first year to provide help and support, and my involvement in the business grew to the point where I came on as a 50-50 shareholder, and then last month actually bought out my business partner. So I now own the business fully, and during that time I have grown the business significantly, and I'm not going to say too much about it now because I want to use it later on in the presentation about some of the results that we've achieved and everything like that. But a little bit more about Trio. We're fully serviced digital marketing agency. So we do everything from website design, SEO, PPC, social media, video, and kind of everything in between. A lot of our clients we've had for the past 3 years, and they stay with us and come back to us for anything they need. And we're always happy to adapt. And my background has always been in marketing, so it's great for me to be working with so many small businesses providing our support. So that's a little bit more about me, and I'm going to talk more about the growth journey of Trio later on in the presentation, where we're using real life examples as we talk you through some of our tips. So over to you, Pete. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Pete Mills. I'm the founding director of Alt Theory. We're a growth and innovation agency based in Saltaire. We work with technology businesses, also sort of funded businesses that are looking at new tech or new ways of doing things, providing sales and marketing support. We're looking at recruitment support and also training. So that's where Alt Theory sits. I actually, prior to that, I started a software business 10 years ago in Leeds city centre. We grew that for a number of years, and I came out of that in January. So I'm probably like some of the people on the call this morning. I had a bit of a shock. I thought this year would be the start of the roaring 20s for me. So came out of Calls 9 at the end of January, and then found myself at the dining room table for 4 months. So looking forward to sharing some of my experiences over the last 8 weeks, and yeah, looking forward to meeting everybody this morning.
Thanks, Pete. Sorry, my... So one of the main things we're going to be addressing on this call is starting a business. And, you know, not only starting a business, but these rules and our kind of main top high-level tips can apply to if you're launching a new product or service as well. So whether it is something that you're starting completely from scratch, or if it's just a side project to something that you're already doing, we're hoping that these tips will allow you, and you know, to go forth and have the confidence to do what you need to do. So, Pete?
Yeah, so I think from starting off, do you actually have an idea that you think people would want or need? And I think that's really important, especially when I look at the types of businesses we work with, and I meet lots of businesses that are in early stages, or they're looking for funding, or they've just received funding. And it's amazing, actually. Sometimes I come across well-funded businesses that have absolutely no idea if people want or need the product, and I think that creates a lot of pain for them in those early days. So, just that first point, you know, you sat there this morning. Do you think you've got something that people will want and need, and do you understand what those people look like?
Absolutely. My kind of top thing would then be around setting goals. So I'm a really firm believer, and whether this sounds wishy-washy or not, I don't know, but I'm a very firm believer in, if you set goals, you write them down, and you have a clear idea of where you're going, you will achieve it. And you'd be surprised how simple that sounds, but how many people don't do it and will just go out into the unknown without a real clear idea of what they want to do, what they're going to achieve, how they're going to achieve it, and instead just think, well, I want to work for myself, and that's maybe as far as it goes. Whereas, you know, you need to be clearly looking at, well, what does working for yourself look like? What does the success of that look like? What does the next 5 years look like for you? And if you plan it out, it helps make it a lot more easy to digest, and it gives you actionable strategies to take forward. So really do believe that it's highly important to set goals, write those down, test them, and stick to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And to follow on from that, I obviously got Alt Theory started 1st of August, and I was working early, just before I officially launched the business. I was obviously working on what's the business plan, what is the proposition I want to take to people. I created an early brand and a proposition, so you know, a slide deck that would explain the business, and I made myself feel I wanted to make sure that I felt uncomfortable. So in terms of I think I know what it is, but am I explaining it to other people? And when you have some marketing, it is obviously it's the extension of how you would communicate it. So people need to be able to clearly understand what you do. And I found sort of early feedback. People were like, I'm not really sure. I think you know what it is, but I'm not really sure what the proposition is yet. And it was very flirty. It was very sort of untangible. So I had to start locking it down. But I didn't rely on my friends to do that, or certainly family members. I've, in one sense, I've been very fortunate over the last 10 years. I've built an excellent professional network. So I can call on, you know, advocates or people that are not really that close to me as friends, but would look at what I'm doing objectively. And I think that's really important when you're taking those first steps.
Absolutely. And it's that whole piece, isn't it? I think I was saying to you yesterday, Pete, that I had a client, a prospective client phone up who had created a new product very centered around demand from COVID-19. And I said, right, who's the market for this? Do you know if there's anyone that's going to buy it? And he just said, oh, well, a few of my friends have told me they'd buy it. And that's a worrying statement, really. You know, we expect that people will actually go out and do the research to test, because you may have a great idea, but you may not actually be the first one that's had that idea. And if you don't go out and look for yourself, if has anyone else had that idea of people using it, then you could end up down a very slippery slope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another kind of tip from us as well would be really thinking about what you need to take that leap. And this comes from a personal point for me. I've always had a very entrepreneurial mindset, started several businesses, granted a lot smaller than the one I'm working in right now, throughout my career. But I made quite a big move, taking a step out of a very high flying role that I was in 2 years ago to set up a passion project. I'm very passionate about the environment and animal welfare and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm going to go set up a consultancy around it. And I very quickly learned that the passion wasn't enough. I had no contacts in that industry, no experience or expertise in that industry. And I'm prepared to say I failed, and it was a very valuable learning lesson. And that's why we're here, is to share those lessons with you so you don't make the same mistakes. And actually, where I am now, I'm using the skills that I have, the knowledge I have, the network I have, the assets, the people, everything that I know and have built up over my career, I'm using to my advantage now. And you're going to find that it's damn sight easier if you go with that approach and you start a business in an area that you know well, versus going off and taking a leap into the unknown. So be prepared to fail. There's the common saying of fail fast, and make sure you learn from it. But we'd hope that after today, if you are going to take the leap, you maybe feel a little bit more equipped to do so by hearing some of our lessons. My slideshow's so slow, sorry. Pete.
Okay, so don't worry, we're not going to send you to Mentimeter, that presentation voting system. Just to put something in the chat here. So what Claire and I really want to do is obviously share experiences or stories around particular things, or that can help you this morning, rather than just talking at you from a presentation. So I guess really key question that we've thrown out to you all is, what is stopping you from starting or growing your business? Is it A, I need investment, B, I'm not confident enough, and C, I don't know how to measure success, or D, other. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple of minutes to just drop your thoughts into chat, A, B, C, or D, and let us know what you're thinking. Cool, thanks, Claudia. Thanks, James.
If it is D, will you let us know what that is? So if it is something else, how would you describe what that thing is that's stopping you? Oops.
Mm.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, some really good points in there.
So we'll try and cover off some of these points as well that are being discussed. So Sarah, you make an interesting point in terms, and Mason actually, that go back to really what the point I was just making. Don't maybe have contacts in that space already. That's something I'd be really keen to, potentially discuss offline, in some follow-up conversations with people, in terms of clarifying your idea for you and seeing where you do have contacts, so that you can get use out of your existing network, and making sure that the proposition is you're positioning it correctly.
Absolutely. There's some really honest pieces here. So we've got a bit of a Q&A, haven't we, at the end, Claire, as well. So if you don't hear us cover it off in the next 2 or 3 slides, then please do just give us a shout.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing, because this is great. We really appreciate you participating and sharing your thoughts your thoughts with us. Should we start going through, Pete, in some,
Yeah, let's do it.
people have definitely mentioned about the investment piece. I think it'd be great for you to share your ideas on that. So we put together a bit of a strategy on those 3 top level ones, haven't we? So we'll get straight into that.
Okay. So from an investment perspective, then I've got, look, there's a picture. If you're not familiar with the world's richest man, there he is with his books, and it's a fascinating story. Is Amazon. I'm not going to spend too long on it, but it's one I would check a book out called The Everything Store, which is basically a New York Times columnist that followed Jeff Bezos from leaving his job in his 30s right the way through to where he is today. And I suppose one of the things that I found interesting about that story is just the unemotionality that he had for what he was doing. He saw an opportunity, e-commerce. He literally picked books as a category. That's what we'll focus on first. And in terms of the name, that was purely because at the time, search engines ranked in alphabetical order. So he picked Amazon because he thought that would appear near the top. So quite an interesting character for me, not because I aspire to want to be him or what, everyone's story and journey is different. I just find the unemotionality of how he approached business quite interesting. So I need investment, and I've seen a few things in there about, I think we need investment, and in some scenarios you absolutely do. But I would really challenge you, if you were about to go on that investment journey, that you don't just go for the first thing that comes across. My background in investment in terms of in businesses, so my first invested business was, I think it was about 23, and the former CEO of Thomas Cook put £300,000 into a startup that we'd spun out of Leeds University for various reasons, really due to people clashes and things like that. That was a very difficult couple of years. And then when I went on to found Calls 9, we took 2 rounds of investments over those 10 years. We actually got the personalities and the investment right in that journey, but certainly from the first perspective, I guess that's where I've made my learning. So I've used the term kiss frogs, plenty of frogs, because I think when you're on that investment journey, especially Claudia, I've seen your comment there. It's finding someone that might be as close as your business partner or the type of relationship that you have with your first employees. It's a really critical relationship that you're bringing into your life. So don't just feel you've got to take the money. If you've got to wait another 6 months, it might seem like an eternity, but to get the right person or the right company to invest, it makes a significant difference. Just to share very openly with my approach. So what I've done is I exited from Calls 9. As I said, I thought I'd be quickly starting again, but COVID put that on ice. When I did get going with Alt Theory, I did have people in the networks, even though at first it wasn't quite clear what I was doing. They just thought, well, Pete's someone we can invest in. I did get an offer of investment. I turned it down because I was like, it's too early for me to start building out what this business is before I start taking investment. So what we've done is we've been trading since August. Obviously, we're a consultancy rate effectively to other technology businesses. We've traded in that time. And what we've done is we've managed to put away a combination of profit and the bounce back loan that the government made available. So we've got a cash pile of about £80,000 now, in which I can now sit down with a business plan and go, okay, this seems to be working. So we need to build this marketing activity. And actually where I'm stretched now, this is where I want to hire. And I've got the confidence to do that. And I'm not worried about an investor sat behind my shoulder going, oh, well, or you need to do this or you need to do that. I'm making my own decisions and I'm empowered to do that. So that's kind of how I would look at the sort of investment scene.
I think that's great, Pete. And as well, it's that, I guess the person side people don't always think about when they're thinking of the investment from the financial point of view. And so that's why that final point around like utilize other finance options if you need it. I mean, when I joined Trio, it was in debt. There had been a lot of loans got, and I got us out of that debt, and I was really pleased about that. But then actually looking back, I think it was no bad thing, you know, because we borrowed money, we paid it back, but we didn't dilute the business by giving away shares to investors. And we did take advantage of the bounce back loan as well. The digital enterprise vouchers, just a touch a little bit more on that. So, you know, guessing that most people on the call are in Leeds or the Leeds City region, and taking part in this as part of Leeds Digital Festival. Have a look at digital enterprise. So there are specific vouchers for growth through for any business in the Leeds City region. You can get up to, it's either £10,000 or £12,000. You can use it for investing in equipment you need to buy, a website, any of these things. And so, you know, from our point of view, we're now telling our clients about it and saying, well, if now's not the right time, you know, why don't you look at applying for a grant? But I really encourage you to look at every possible option and don't be too proud to take it. You know, if there's money available there to you, take it. You know, just don't get yourself in a sticky situation when it comes to debt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so looking at the next point around, I lack confidence to take the leap, and I'll try cover some of the points around not having contacts in that space and lead gen and things in this, because I think actually this can be all encompassing. I've said already about write down your goals, because I really did want to reiterate, because I'm a massive believer in it. You know, I wrote specific goals of what I wanted to achieve, and I was saying to Pete yesterday, I've achieved them all now, so it's time to write some new goals. But make sure the facts and figures support your ideas. This is going to give you the confidence you need. I think it's very hard to have confidence in yourself sometimes and to recognize success. And there's the age-old thing of fake it till you make it. I don't believe in that, but I do believe there's somewhere in between where you have to remind yourself, I'm an expert compared to the common man on the street on this, you know, so I need to have the confidence in myself that when I'm meeting people, I will know more than them about said product, service, business, and have that belief in yourself until you believe it for yourself. So it's not faking it, because I don't really believe in that, but it's knowing, do you know what, I do know this. I can support it through evidence-based facts and figures, and giving yourself that all-important pat on the back. Make sure your business is aligned to your own values and beliefs. I did talk before about obviously a passion project, and that didn't work because I didn't have the contacts in that space. But that's not to say that you can do something that kind of hits every mark. So there's lots of things I'm passionate about. The environment is one of them, but then as part of that at Trio Media, we now support a charity, and we're working really closely, both Pete and I actually, with the Rainforest Trust on climate change initiatives with them. So I can still bring my passion projects into an area where actually I'm working, because that's where I have skills and knowledge. I then also bring my values and beliefs through the business in terms of how I think people should be treated, how I want to work with other businesses. So if you make sure that is aligned to what it is you do, you've got far more chance of success. Always be true to yourself, which kind of links back from that. So if it doesn't feel right to you, it's not going to feel right to other people. You know, you have to believe in it, and you have to know that I've gone down the right path. And Pete, this reminds me of conversations we've had, and you know, when Pete exited his last business and was setting up a new one, I know he had some very generous offers, but you turned them down, didn't you? Because
That's right.
they weren't right for you. And I do think that you learn that art the longer you're in the business, and the older you get. You know, you kind of learn when things are right for you and not. This piece around learn the art of self-promotion, I think is really important when it comes to that area of, I don't have a network, what do I do about lead generation? What is very difficult for a lot of people is if you start your own business, you become everyone, you're every single role, and one of those big roles is sales. And if you haven't come from a sales background, it's very hard to put that hat on. I'm not a salesperson by trade, you know, I'm a marketeer through and through, and I've had to adjust and become a salesperson. but I make it work for me. I do sales by marketing myself, you know, and it's that learning the art of self-promotion. So creating a video, putting it on LinkedIn, asking people unashamedly to share your content, to get involved, harassing your network, whatever network you do have. If you have a network and you go, these people aren't actually the audience I'm trying to reach, okay, well, you need to get to that audience one way or another. So use the people you do have and say, does anyone know someone in this area? I'm starting a venture. I would really appreciate an introduction. You know, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because if you're going to take that leap and invest in yourself in starting a business, you really need to start doing this. And it may feel embarrassing or difficult to you, but the person on the receiving end would never see it like that. They wouldn't see the emotion that you're feeling behind it. They would just be like, okay, this is what LinkedIn is for. It's for networking, and someone's asking me for a networking opportunity. Fine, can I help them out? You know, so if I could encourage you to do one thing, you know, immediately, it would be to start gaining the confidence to do that, start self-promoting, start speaking to people, and getting yourself out there. The final point I wanted to make with regards to the confidence piece and kind of taking that leap is accepting that it's not always a straight line. And this concept of a career ladder, you know, you just prop it up, climb up it, and you're there. I just hate that phrase. It should be scrapped. You know, it's a career path, road, whatever it is. And paths and roads, they wind and they turn and they go uphill and downhill. And accepting that it's not a straight journey will help you a lot, because it's okay to recognize when things aren't going well. But as long as you can pivot and get things going on the right track again, then you'll be okay. You know, don't lose your confidence after one pitfall. Keep going and keep at it. And that probably leads quite nicely on to the next piece around measuring success.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was just on the measuring success piece, and tying just quickly back into self sort of confidence. You know, I know back when I was at uni, and my first sort of venture that I started there, I just wasn't very confident at all. Quite a shy person, actually. And I think, you know, if you are naturally a shy person, that it's very hard. You've got to stay on top of it every day. And even, you know, some of the presentations Claire and I have done, some of the podcast stuff, you know, I find myself momentarily going back to that 20-year-old going, I don't want to say anything. And you've just got to put it out there, and it takes daily practice. So that's just one of those things I'd say about that. And you're always learning to pick up new things about the confidence piece. And I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago. It was with a lady called Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx, and Tony Robbins, the sort of, you know, business coach, etc. And she said something really interesting, which was, when I started my business, I just called people up. Like, I wanted to meet someone at a department store because we were selling the products at the time, and I just called up the head of purchasing. Like, can you imagine anyone on this call right now? Like, just think about something in your own life, and I've seen one or two things about business development and tying into confidence, etc. Okay, there's a list of 5 customers that you want. What would stop you today calling them up? And it's just, you know, there's no answer to that. Just have a think about it. But the measuring success piece, Claire and I thought carefully about this, because I think we meet a lot of people that start a journey and then they start getting lost in it a little bit, and they don't actually see what is success, because they've not started out understanding what that would mean to them. And I think, you know, success to share, and Claire's going to share what success means to her in a sec, but success for me is having something that, you know, is not Pete Mills Incorporated. So I want to hire into Alt Theory so that we're building a business that employs good people. I want a large contribution to social responsibility causes as well. So it's not just about making profit. And as Claire said, we've started working with the Rainforest Trust together, which probably makes us as happy as making money, you know, when we talk about the stuff that they're doing. So that to me is something that I keep myself in check with, and how I'm measuring success is, you know, I want to have a business that is not just Pete Mills. So I don't know, Claire, you've probably got your own thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this before, because Pete just touched on it slightly, but we also have a podcast which we'll talk about later, and we went through this in detail. You know, what does that really mean for us? And don't get me wrong, because there'll probably be a lot of you on this call, and I'm prepared to say it, money is a big part of it. You know, I want to make money, I do, but that's not the be all and end all, and I don't want making money to be at the detriment of my own happiness and the happiness of people around me. And I've always prided myself on creating a nice working environment and being a good, not a manager to people, but a leader and a mentor, and having people around me who do feel supported and can go off and achieve great things. And you know, I'm more than happy if one day someone who worked for me turned around and went, I'm going to go off and do my own thing now because I'm inspired to do that. I would give them every single tool they needed to go do that. You know, I do have a member of my team actually who runs a business on the side. It's not related to marketing, and I was saying, just let me know when you want to leave, when you want to quit. It's absolutely fine. Go off and do it, you know, because I want to support people. And you know, the same piece, echoing what Pete said as well around the social responsibility. If I can do good through my work and find that actually I can combine my passions for the environment, making the world a better place, animal welfare, if I can combine that into the work I'm doing day by day, then that makes me happy anyway. A couple of things probably just worth touching on before we leave this, that we were talking about in terms of metrics, you know, because I think, I mean, I've just said there, you know, I want to make money, and I think it's very easy when I've been talking about setting goals and things like that for you to be thinking, okay, I've got to set out what I'm going to earn year by year. But that may not be the key metric for your business. You know, you may actually be looking at downloads of a piece of software, or how many people attend a training session, how many people have I reached. You know, my goal for the first year is to get 100,000 followers on my social media channels, because that's where my reach and audience and sales are going to come from. So in the first year I'm concentrated on reach, second year maybe sales. You know, so really try and think about all the different metrics that are going to be useful to your business. And we can't tell you that because there are so many out there, you know, and they're going to be so different for so many people. You know, we've got someone who does recruitment on the call. So is it about placing a certain amount of people, you know, or being the chosen recruiter for a certain amount of businesses? So the numbers don't always have a pound sign in front of them. You know, it can be a number of different metrics that you may look at, and always be open to feedback, checking in on that, checking in on your metrics, but checking in with people, checking in with your customers, with your employees, listening to people. You know, to me, one of my success measures this year that I didn't know we had was actually, we didn't furlough anyone as part of the COVID crisis. Everyone worked from home and we didn't furlough a single person. And I've seen a lot of businesses who have furloughed people purely as a money-making exercise, because they've kind of made it clear they expect those staff members to keep working, but lo and behold, they're claiming, you know, 80% of their salary from the government. So that is not what we are about. We could have done that. I'm close enough to every single one of my employees, they would have done it, but that is not what we are about whatsoever. You know, so that was a case of listening to our people and investing in our people and making sure that they were happy, making sure our clients knew we were still available. And that, I believe, is part of what's helped us grow during this time. We didn't take the easy road. We didn't go, oh, okay, yeah, business is off. Let's all have a jolly for 3 months. Let's claim money for everyone's salaries. No, we kept going, and we've grown the business substantially from that. I think I'm pretty sure the next slide anyway is So how did we do it? So I'm happy to keep going, Pete, if you ask, you know, because I'm telling a bit about my story there anyway. So how did we do it? How did we grow the business? So I wasn't here in the early days. I can't take, you know, any credit for setting up the business. It's hard. That's why Pete and I are on this call together. He's going through it. He's going through setting it up, whereas I've come into a business and kind of turned it around. So in the past year, just to show you what our success metrics look like, we've doubled turnover, we've doubled our workforce, we've doubled our profit. We've actually made more profit after tax this year than the first 2 years combined. And we've done that through being really smart about what it is that we're doing. You know, in that time as well, we've also paid off all the debt that we had when I came into the business. There was a substantial amount of debt. That was all paid off. We now pay our VAT bill on time rather than via finance every month. And that's through, I mean, look, I said I want to make money, but I'm not greedy and I'm not irresponsible. And this is the thing, you know, I can appreciate that I'll make more money in 5 years if I lay the right foundations now than that thought of, oh, as soon as money comes in the bank, I want it in my, you know, my back pocket and I'm going to go burn it. And, you know, this idea of what someone who runs their own business looks like and what car they might drive and all those things, you know, you've got to understand you need to leave all that behind, and that arrogance that may come with running a business, and go, I need to roll my sleeves up and be prepared to get down and dirty for a few years, you know, and the rewards will come if you're prepared to do that work. If you're not prepared to do that work, don't expect after an hour presentation at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning that you're going to go off and create a successful business. You know, it takes hard work and graft. And so we looked at every single part of the business. We looked at the people. We took on a whole new team kind of 18 months ago. We got rid of every single person that we had and we started again. We brought in the right people, and at the time, less people to do the same jobs that, you know, double the workforce were doing, but they were doing inefficiently. So we looked at cost savings. We also looked at areas for improvement. We looked at ways that we could increase prices with clients where possible, also improve our proposition. You know, for a lot of our services, there used to be one price. Now we have 4 packages for every service, so we always have opportunities to upsell. There's a lot more I could talk about on that in terms of the psychology of people always wanting to choose one up from the most basic version. So we're now selling packages at a much higher price. So there's so much work that can be done. We got really smart about our marketing and our sales in terms of what our proposition is, what our messaging is, the type of people we want to talk to. And so you need to be really, really clear on what it is and who you are and what you do, you know. So if you go on our Instagram now, for example, it will say we are the marketing partner for small businesses. You know, we work with small businesses. We don't work with medium-sized businesses. We don't work with large businesses. I'd love to, but it's not where we are right now. So I'm realistic about it. A lot of the time, the businesses we work with are actually micro, you know, businesses rather than just small. But that's what pays our bills and keeps 8 people in jobs. So I'm pleased about that. So be really, really specific about what you are doing and have it clear in your mind about where you're going, who you are, who your audience is. And, you know, if you don't know the answers to those things today, you need to start thinking about that. So Pete, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your story then, and, you know, where you are right now. Describe the last 8 weeks, starting from scratch, you know, tell people the nitty gritty of what it's been like.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I got started the 1st of August. I think, yeah, having someone said to me, this is not my first rodeo, which I thought was quite funny. I think I'd be terrible in a rodeo, to be honest. I've sort of learned over the years to be comfortable with certain things that would make other people feel uncomfortable if they're not used to it. So what do I mean by that? Accepting that people say no a lot. That's just part part of the course with what we do. You know, Claire in her business, and there'll be people on this call. You've got to talk to a lot of people. You meet people who are just fishing and potentially wasting your time, but you sort of get used to that as well. But coming out of the blocks, I think the key for me was establishing something on a sound financial position. I'm in my mid-30s now. I'm not 25 anymore. When I started Calls 9, so you know, my life has moved on in a different way. So I think a key component was getting something set up that started generating revenue pretty quickly, and I've achieved that. We have 4 retained business clients that pay Alt Theory a retainer every month, so that got us out of the blocks pretty quick. And actually focusing on those early financials, where you know we're 8 weeks in now, and I've taken the bare minimum out of it, because I'm looking at building up a sort of reserve for the business, but also that I know in my head that will give me the confidence to start posting those job positions out in the next few weeks. So that's sort of the fundamentals bit. I kept shaping the proposition. I was lucky I had some time prior to the 1st of August to talk to friends and share the proposition, start refining it, getting it a lot clearer. So by the time that I did start, I was able to really sort of hit the right notes with prospective clients for the business. I think the other thing, and being open about it, I have to accept that there'll always be the little 20-year-old in the back of my mind telling me, no, you can't really do that, you're not confident enough. So I think one of the things I've been determined to do with Alt Theory now, and just echoing some of Claire's points, is that this is really now my opportunity to shape. I don't have any fellow directors. I don't have any fellow shareholders. It's just me. And I think getting up every day is that for me now makes me feel really, really good. So I feel like no one can stop me, which sounds a bit crazy on a Friday morning. But yeah, I think I've been lucky with some of my past experiences. So I know that, you know, I might have a week where everything just seems to be going, like everyone just says no, or it's difficulties, or we've not quite got some opportunities right. But then I know the following week it will be better. And you know what, that's just how it is. So we made the move pretty early to an office. So I'm sat here this morning in Alt Theory's first office in Salts Mill. We're going to probably adopt a process like I'm seeing many businesses do now, where we might have half the time in the office and half the time from home. But actually, we'll see how that culture starts shaping when people start joining me. So we took on a non-exec in August as well, who I think will become a sort of a direct employee of the business as well, hopefully, and can add massive value to us. So we'll see how that unfolds. So yeah, the first 8 weeks, I just had to look at my phone actually to see the date, to just check in with myself that I've not been doing this for years. It's literally coming up for 8 weeks.
That's great. Thanks, Pete. And whilst you've been talking, we've had quite a few questions come through. So I think it'd be great for us to answer them now rather than wait till the end. So I'll read them out. And if I've got anything else, I'll let you answer. And if I've got anything else to add, I'll add that at the end. So okay. Brian has asked, when you first started off in your new ventures, did you find that promoting your services or products was more successful than promoting your values or yourself, or a blend of both?
That's a cracking question. I personally just went straight for LinkedIn. I've been watching people do really, really well on that outreach and that perception that they've created on LinkedIn. So the methodology I've adopted is called document, don't create. So I've shared a picture of me being in this office with loads of boxes. And I was going like that because there was one in my head. I was like, oh my goodness, there's no one to even help me build all of these pieces of furniture. I have to do it myself. But certainly sharing an open, authentic start to it has just been massive, because what I've found is people connect with that. People connect with the human side of that. So I've picked up opportunities, and I'm in discussions for opportunities now where they're going, well, Pete's got this thing and he seems like someone that we could really work with, and he's decent. So I would say tell a human story about what you're doing, and that probably connects to you back as a person. I don't know, Claire, if you've got any points to add.
I do totally agree. I mean, I'm going to be frank, like we do a mix of both, and I've got a great marketing team here who put a lot out about our products and services, but we try to always make it about the personality of the business. And coming back to things like we say, metrics and measuring success, every single post we do that has a picture of a member of our staff does 3 times better than any other post. So we're aware of that. We're aware of the power of people. As well, we get a lot of referrals. Those referrals come to me through people I've met. We've formed partnerships and alliances with other businesses now because they want to recommend their clients to us. And so I think that's really important. Our referrals are far more likely to convert than a inbound lead or a cold telesales lead. So that personality is key, and as well, it's that personality once you have a client to keep them coming back to you. At that point, it's very 50-50. The service needs to be there in terms of what you're providing, and it works, and you can show them it works, but they're going to keep coming back because they like you, and they'll leave if they don't. You could be giving them the best product or service in the world, but if they don't actually like you, they will never stay. So I do think the personal element is really important.
Absolutely.
There's a couple of questions. So Yoon asked, how could you pay off all the debts? So I'm guessing that's directed at me. So quite simply, we made it a priority. It wasn't a priority before to get out of debt for the business, whereas it was a priority of mine. So we set aside money, we earned less so that we could pay it off because it was the right thing to do. Longer term, I could look at, right, well, if we're paying out 2-3 grand a month, for example, on this loan, as soon as that's paid off, that's 2-3 grand a month in the business, or if anyone wants to look at it like this, in your back pocket. So the sooner you do it, the sooner you're getting that money back again. So make it a priority. And sorry, Pete, there's a few for me.
No,
So James said, given the amount, Claire, given the amount you changed in the business from when you joined, do you still think it's the same business at its core, or was it just such a reset that it's a completely different one? I suppose my underlying question is, when does a reorganization actually become a new business? So I think that's a great question. The thing I would say is absolutely it's still the same business, and you've got to remember that businesses go through buyouts all the time. And I mean, this wasn't really a buyout because I was part of a business for a long time, and then one of the shareholders just moved away. Yes, in that time we rebranded, we took on a new team, we've moved offices, but our customer base is the same and our services are the same. We're still the same business. To our clients, they have noticed no different. They still feel this is a company I can work with. They provide great products and services for me. I'm looked after and I'm happy staying with them, and that has followed through any of these other changes we've made along the way that's going to help us attract new business. We're still the same business at the core. But yeah, I think it's a great question. We've then got, I'll come back to your other question, Yoon. Mason said, you mentioned it's better not to endeavour into a passion project if you don't know a great deal about it. Something I'm wanting to go into is clothing retail, which I personally don't know much about yet, but I believe I have the vision and the ideas needed for it. Do you think in a situation like that, it would be better to look for someone to partner with who knows a bit more technically about the production, etc.? What are your thoughts, Pete?
Well, yeah, okay. So there's a couple of bits wrapped up in that. I don't think either myself or Claire would ever sit here and tell you not to do something. Well, they'd probably, if you're trying to turn water into gold or something, I'd probably tell you that might not be possible. But I think with passion projects, you have to be really, really careful. And the fact that you've labelled it a passion project, I just sort of sent an alarm bell off in my mind. I think with passion projects, the danger is that you chase something that actually is very, very difficult. You give a lot to it. It's emotionally quite challenging, and at the end of it, you're not quite sure where you are or why you started it. And actually, something that you were very passionate about, you're not anymore. And I'm talking from experience there. So when I set a business up called Martial Edge, which was an online martial arts community. We went around the country as students interviewing, and to put things in perspective, we were able to talk to the UFC at the time. This is going back 15 years, where the UFC was not a $1 billion business. It was a small business run out of a couple of offices in America. So we used to interview their athletes and things like that, and it was a pure play passion project. I think that we never really grasped the sort of commercials of it, and actually, I should have just kept it as something where I was like, I like writing about martial arts and I like writing about people who fight for a living or whatever. So I think you've got to be really, really careful. But that said, if you think you've got an idea, going back to one of our earlier slides, test it. But don't ask friends and family, because they're likely to go, what a great idea, you should do that. Oh, I know you love animals, so you should totally go after putting animals on a t-shirt. Test it in a way that gets feedback on it. So the only way to test it is to talk to prospective customers, right? So if you think you've got an idea around clothing, sketch that idea out, put it in a framework where you can ask some questions on it and go find objective feedback. So effectively market test it. And I think that's when you'd find out whether you've truly got something. And on the partner bit, just be a little bit careful in terms of your own confidence and what that might mean and the types of partners that you would be looking for. Because again, going back to one of our earlier slides, anyone you introduce into your professional life, it is a relationship, and you need to be very careful about who you're partnering with or who you're taking investment from. That's what I'd say there. What about you, Claire?
I mean, I won't labour on it too much. I think you've made a lot of interesting points, and like you say, it's not up to us to say what's right or wrong, but it's up to us to give this advice here on our experiences, and leave you to make your own mind up about it. I've had loads of great ideas. I mean, just last night I was watching a video and someone was talking about an app, and I was like, I literally had an idea for that app 5 years ago, and I was fuming. But I'm not an app developer, and I could have invested so much time developing this app and then being like, right, and now where do I go? And every single thing would have been an uphill battle, because I have to accept, that was better for someone else to do. And we've probably all had that, where we've had an idea. My partner's mum said, I had the idea for Uber 10 years ago. I thought that we should do that. But she would have never done it. She wouldn't have made it what Uber could have made it. And it's just accepting that sometimes someone's going to potentially be able to execute an idea better than you can. I am conscious it's getting close to 9 o'clock, and have had a message from someone saying they need to pop off. So I'm going to just continue. We've only got a couple of minutes left anyway. And then we would love to continue the conversation with a lot of you after this anyway, if you're up for that too. So that segues us nicely into that we're actually offering, Pete and I have decided to partner up and offer a free consultation to anyone that we think needs it or deserves it. So what we're inviting you to do, obviously we've got a lot of highly engaged people on the call, and we've been really enjoying your chats and get to know you, and I'm sure there's a lot more conversations we can have offline. But what we would really like to do, if you think you could do with help from Pete and I, and this is far beyond what we've discussed on this call, Pete's business is a growth agency, my business is a marketing agency, and the support that we can potentially provide you. If you're interested in getting that support, we're inviting you to film a 2-minute maximum video, your elevator pitch about why we should give our time for free to help your business. So, please only submit it if you're genuine about wanting our support, but we're really keen to be able to give that to someone if we think it'd be valuable. So film a video, send it over to us, tell us more about you, your business idea, why you need our help, and you can send that to me at claire@trio-media.co.uk. We will send you an email after this anyway, so you have both Pete and I's email, so you're welcome to reply back to that email. But we think we could add some real value to someone who's potentially going to need it. Also, if you've enjoyed hearing from us, we've mentioned it already now anyway, but this is our shameless plug, that Pete and I have actually launched we are launching a podcast. We filmed some episodes, our website is live, and we're just waiting for it to go through and actually get uploaded onto all the podcast stores. So go to the northstarpodcast.co.uk if you want to be kept up to date about when that's launching. Fill in the contact form on there. We'll add you to the mailing list, and you'll hear more of our Yorkshire tones, going on about our careers and our tips and the highs and lows and everything in between. And we are going to be interviewing some really interesting Northern business owners as well. So I do encourage you to come be part of that. And who knows, maybe we'll be interviewing one of you guys on there one day as well.
Absolutely.
So we have had a lot of questions so far. Pete, I'm sure you'll be the same as me. I'm more than happy to stay on if anyone has other questions, but if anyone does need to leave and get off for a 9 o'clock meeting, just thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking part. We really do appreciate it. We hope to speak to you soon. And yes, let us know if you have any other questions.
Yeah, I can stay until 1:15 if anyone wants to ask anything, Claire. So yeah, no problem.
So I think everyone's leaving. We're getting a lot of thank yous. So yeah, let's call it a day then if we're not getting any more questions. But really appreciate you all joining in, taking part, and yeah, hopefully we've all expanded our network now. You've got some test beds for your ideas and your business. So let's all connect and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't say fairer than that, Claire. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.